Why do we call our program the Smart Way? Why do we think it's, well, smart? The Smart Way improves every common management concern. Yes, that's a big claim. It's a really big claim. But it's supported by research, and we can even explain why the Smart Way addresses every management concern. Can we tell you more? I'm not going to read all of these management concerns to you. You're fully capable of reading, so we'll just page through them, give you a moment or two to read, and then keep going. If I go too fast, you can pause the video. The Smart Way addresses the root cause of human thriving. As you look through that list, if you think about how is someone who is thriving doing in this area, you'll realize that if somebody's thriving, they're doing well in every one of those areas. It's definitional. This is a summary of research done by the Educational Endowment Fund, and the crossover with the Smart Way is in the area of metacognitive training, self-regulation training, social and emotional learning, collaborative learning, and peer tutoring. The Smart Way encompasses other things, and there's a slide a little bit later that talks about additional things. But we love this research because, for one thing, we didn't do it, so doesn't have a bias of us trying to steer people to our work. It's somebody else's research that supports our program. I'm not going to walk through this whole process or the whole slide because you can pause the video and spend as much time or as little time as you want on this particular slide. But you'll see that the cost of training individuals on the Smart Way is very low, and there's significant, I shouldn't say the Smart Way, on key elements of the Smart Way is very low, and there's robust research that supports their ability to affect outcomes. And one of the ways that Happiness First Institute keeps the cost down is because we don't need one-on-one time to train people to use their minds as effectively as they can. We teach in groups, and actually groups that are over 40 are more effective than smaller groups because of the energy and the dynamic that is created. And we can teach groups of hundreds of people how to use these skills effectively, which really keeps the cost down and creates a positive culture in your organization. So spend as much time as you'd like on this research. Feel free to go to the Educational Endowment Foundation's website and look at all the different categories. Keep in mind, this research was about the influence on educational achievement, but the vast majority of people have not had any of this training, not the metacognitive training, the self-regulation, social and emotional learning, because schools are only now beginning to implement this. And it's not all schools. I wish it was. Our world would change overnight. But It's a small number of schools, so the vast majority of people have never had this type of training. And this training makes a tremendous difference in achievement and outcome, quality of life, happiness, self-esteem. That the list is very long. Everyone's brain is programmed. Most people's brains are programmed by default based on experience and cognitions they had when their age was still a single digit. Think about that. Do you want a brain that formed its beliefs before you were 10 years old, running your life? Or do you, at whatever age you are now, 11 to 111, do you want to consciously make choices about the programming that is really determining how you experience life? We teach employees how to use their minds. Most people have never been taught. When you understand how to use your mind effectively, your life is better. Every area of your life is better. The brain, there's hundreds of filters between the big data our senses bring in and our conscious awareness. But we have 4 filters that have a tremendous impact on our life every single day. And those are our beliefs, our expectations, our emotional state, and our focus. And that's what we really put our attention on, teaching people how to change. We don't tell them what to believe or what to expect or how to feel or what to focus on. We tell them how to be in control of it and how to know when to focus on what. And then they remain in total control of the choices they make. But we help them understand, if you make choice A, your outcome will look like this. And if you make choice B, your outcome will look like this. But the ultimate chooser, the autonomy, remains with every employee. This slide demonstrates the types of behavior that are related to by emotional state. And the zones are separated by how empowered or disempowered a person feeling that emotion feels. And you can pause and read through this chart. The citations, again, are everything that is bulleted here is documented in at least one, if not more, of my books. And with clients, I'm happy to share the research that supports all of these bulleted items and their association with the emotional state. Pause and peruse it as long as you want, or keep going. This continuum is pretty self-explanatory. Pause if you'd like more time. I'm going to make the slide go forward so that the video is shorter for those who just kind of want to get through it a little bit quicker. On the next several slides, they're all about outcomes that are documented in the scientific literature of issues that come about because negative habits of thought increase stress and lower mood. I'm going to page through. If you want to explore them in more detail, just pause. This is a quicker version of the video. There's a longer version of the video that I will be uploading to YouTube, and each one will indicate longer version, one will be shorter version. So just pause if you want to spend more time and study this, or watch the longer video. On this one, resources are things like the ability to control oneself, things like illness, lack of sleep, dehydration, pain, emotional upset can lead to decreased resources faster. Okay, this slide and the next one are pretty much the opposite of the slides you just looked at. These are the outcomes that are documented for positive habits of thought, optimism, that indicate that lead to lower stress, better moods, and then these positive outcomes flow from that. The summary of benefits, this is actually not a complete list of the benefits, but feel free to pause and peruse them. So there's a lot of programs out there, and the puzzle slide I'm going to show in a moment addresses several of those. It can make it hard to see through the noise to what is actually going to help your organization the most and what gives you the bigger bang for the buck. But not only what gives you the bigger bang for the buck, but what gives you the ultimate positive outcome for your organization, for your employees, for yourself, for your management team. And only when you address the root cause of human thriving can you capture the benefit that is going to help all cylinders spark in perfect rhythm. So, what pieces are missing in your approach? When I first started Happiness First Institute, a lot of companies said employee happiness, they thought it was something soft and fluffy and not really important. And so I've done a lot of educating in the 6 years that Happiness First Institute has been in business. And I'm finding companies are starting to do some things. Um, the growth mindset, that work, Dweck's work, is starting to make its way into the corporate world. But as you see on this puzzle, it's one piece of the puzzle. It is not the full solution. Emotional agility or psychological flexibility, they're even newer. They're starting to make their way in. But again, they're pieces of the puzzle. Optimism and positivity, again, pieces of the puzzle. Emotional intelligence has been around since the 90s, but again, it's a piece of the puzzle. Psych cap, again, that's another newer approach. Health promotion wellness programs, a lot of people are doing that, but they're not doing it at the root cause. My frustration with all the effort being put in, striking at the branches of good health instead of going to the root where it's so much easier to promote good health, is the reason I wrote my first book. I've now written 6. And positive teams, I'm working on a book on that. I've developed a program for a coaching culture in an organization that has been trained on the smart way. And it's amazing. So, what pieces are missing in your approach to address these important issues in your organization. Give us the opportunity. Show us what you're doing, and we'll show you what's missing and how we can help you put the whole puzzle together in your organization. A decade ago, there was a breakthrough on what the actual purpose and a use of emotions was. Almost immediately, I began applying that new definition to my life, and the positive benefits were immediate and significant, so much so that I started teaching my friends how to use it, and very soon I started a meetup group so that I could teach a wider audience how to do it. So I've been doing this for a decade now, and not only have I been teaching about the new purpose and use, but I've been teaching people how to apply that in their lives and learning from teaching, learning from my own experiences and the experiences of my students. And there's no one else that has 10 years of experience in this. That's one of the reasons Happiness First has the best solution. And when you think about the definition of the purpose and use of emotions that the vast majority of the world is unfortunately still using, you might as well compare it to a recipe that somebody has given somebody else and they wrote flour instead of sugar, or they wrote the temperature down incorrectly in the wrong reverse numbers, or they wrote it in a different format so that it's impossible to get the right outcome when you have the wrong recipe. When you have the right recipe, emotions are rational. They're actually more rational than our conscious mind. Our conscious mind filters through cognitive biases that make people irrational in their stances. If you don't think that intelligent people can have irrational stances, ask yourself how there can be very intelligent people on both sides of the political spectrum who can't find any common ground. That is irrational. It's irrational because they have cognitive biases. They have confirmation bias. We all have it to some degree or another. But if we don't recognize that we have it, if we're not willing to open ourselves up to say, I'm going to explore this other point of view with a more open mind, then we can't learn, we can't get past those biases. Our emotional guidance is actually designed to help us know when to confront those biases and which direction to lean. It is amazing in its ability to help us function as more intelligent humans, as more successful, as able to be in a relationship with bosses, coworkers, spouses, children, parents, that is primarily marked by harmony and cooperation, not conflict and emotional distress. I think this is self-explanatory if you read what's on the page. Pause if you'd like to spend time on this diagram. Think about resilience of your organization if there is a need for disaster recovery, or if you have a continuity planning plan, and ask yourself, Do your employees need to be resilient for that plan to be successful? The answer is obvious, and the smart way increases resilience. These are questions that you can ask yourself, feel free to pause again, about your organization, because these are things that training in the smart way would benefit your organization. We can train management first or simultaneous with staff. You would not want to train staff before management has the opportunity to learn the smart way. It literally allows people to see things that they didn't see before. And it's important that management has the broadest view. And if you're training your employees to have a broader view, to be able to see the nuances and the layers and the long-term view and the trees in the forest, and be able to shift from one perspective to another and consider all those factors, you better make sure that your management staff can do it as well. As I learned it, and as the people I've taught to use the smart way have learned it, sometimes there's some immediate significant benefits, particularly when somebody's in distress. There's immediate emotional relief. But as they use the processes and the techniques and they become habituated to using them, the benefits build on themselves. And so as the neural pathways begin making using the process automatic, then an employee who would have been stressed about a situation may not even feel any stress about that situation after they've learned these techniques. That's a huge difference. It's the phrase making mountains out of molehills. The ones that make the mountains out of molehills don't have good stress management. They don't have emotional flexibility, psychological capital. They don't have the mental strength, and I don't know if mental strength is the right word. We've often used it in the past, but the mental flexibility to see the situation's potential benefits. And so they make this mountain with unhealthy habits of thought when it could be a molehill if they had healthy habits of thought. It's a tremendous difference in perspective. The tools we teach provide the perfect opportunity to create an amazing culture in your organization, a culture of coaching that would be unthinkable without the foundation of the smart way. When it comes to measuring the results of our program, we like to use things you're already measuring because it doesn't add any cost. And those are the things you care about already because that's why you're measuring them. We're happy to measure directly things like resilience and happiness and emotional intelligence and so on and so forth if you'd like. But we can show you and demonstrate that absenteeism, turnover, and productivity in sales and coworker harmony and incivility and all of those things are directly related, and you're already measuring those. You can see the results in things you're already measuring without adding to the cost. So it's up to the organization how they want to measure and receive the documentation beyond how different the organization culture feels. It's up to you. We can accommodate you in any way that you prefer. When I started talking to researchers and said that I was seeking the answer to what makes humans thrive, pretty much the only answer I got was, "You're asking too big of a question. It's too big to answer." And I was stubborn. That was my question. It was the only question burning in my belly. And I found at the conclusion, when I really understood the answer, I knew why they said that. Science is very siloed, just like businesses, just like hospitals, just like schools even. They're very siloed. And if you try to answer what makes human thrive from the resources and knowledge available in a single silo, it is too big of a question. You can't answer it. But that's not what I did. I looked in any silo that had anything to say about human thriving, and I brought that data into my work as a part of the puzzle piece. And when all of that data came together, the picture, the answer was crystal clear. So the fact that it's not coming from siloed, that every aspect of it is supported by data in psychology, in medical science, in psychoneuroimmunology, in quantum physics. It doesn't matter what area, and my citations show a lot of the different research I've read, and it doesn't matter what area it came from. If it had anything to add to the answer, I was interested in learning about it. And my reading of research continues, but I'm only now looking for ways to make our program better. I'm always, continuous improvement is, if somebody were to describe me, that would be one way that they would describe me, of myself, of my work, of everything that I touch. I'm always interested in, how can I make it better? How can I teach this faster? How can I teach this so that more people can understand and relate to what I'm saying? Just every aspect of it, I'm looking for ways to improve. Okay. I also have a business background that makes me unusual in this field. I did not spend my entire life in an academic setting. I have had employees. I have fired people. I have had sales goals. I've had production goals. I've had um, lots and lots of different business experiences, big projects, huge mergers, um, small companies where I wore many, many hats. So I'm aware of real world issues. And as I searched for my answer to what makes human thrive, I was looking at it from a real world perspective, not an academic perspective. Although I wanted, solid documentation, but you need that in business as well. I can't just put up sales numbers without any documentation. I can't do an audit and not have documentation. So it's coming more from that business perspective, the analytical perspective, than it is the just looking for an answer to one small piece of a larger puzzle. I was putting the puzzle together. The most important work I do is teach people skills that help them thrive more in every area of their life. But the second thing I do is educate businesses and school districts about the fact that we have solutions to so many problems: health promotion, mental health promotion, pro-health behavior promotion, crime prevention, abuse prevention, addiction prevention, dropout prevention, teen pregnancy prevention. All of them have the same root. Suicide prevention, add that in there too. They all have the same root. And when you understand that root, you're passionate about helping people see the connection between helping people thrive and the outcomes that we as a society prefer. So those are the two things that I do. And then now I'm adding a third thing that I'm really excited about, and that's the corporate culture of coaching. And I'd love to tell you more about that. This talks about it briefly, but it takes a deeper conversation. But I think it's the answer. I really believe it's the answer. When you look at social media, you look at the way the public perceives corporations today, you look at the negativity that's really being shone onto corporations as if the providers of jobs and goods and services are somehow in and of themselves bad. And there's just that I'm concerned about that growing outlook of corporations being something bad. And they're as good or as bad as the people that comprise them. And this positive coaching culture, I think it's the paradigm shift that the world is asking for. I think that any company that takes this training and incorporates that positive coaching culture is going to be positively received by the world. And when it comes to brand loyalty, a positive perception by the world is huge. Contact us today for more information about how we can help you and your organization thrive more. You can reach me at janine.joy@happinessfirst.com, or you can contact me on Twitter. I'm there nearly every day, or LinkedIn. I'm there nearly every day. When I'm on a book deadline, I might be absent for a week or two, but for the most part, I am there every day. Thank you for watching this video. I value and appreciate your time. Let's make the world we want.